44, and it is 11:11 today. I happen to have the day off, so I'm excited to be at my old time slot. I'm not going to be having a 5:30 meet, but just thought it would be cool to come on at 11. We could talk about 11:11 on 11:11. I happen to have the day off today, so it's really cool. Well, let's get started. Today I'm going to be pulling from I have the Labyrinth deck, and you can see it's got some pretty interesting images in here. And so I'm going to be pulling a few cards, just whatever feels good. We're going to be talking about the numerological significance of 11. Obviously, it's 4 ones, and 4 is the number of foundation and stability. It happens to be my favorite number. But I also see 11:11s around all the time. And just first and foremost, the 11, Mike's here. Hi, Mike. The significance of the 11:11 is it is a portal, and it's a mirror. So if number 1 represents the self, then 2 ones is kind of this mirror of yourself, and then the 11:11 is this portal of self. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today. Let's draw a card before it turns 11:11. Obviously, if you're not in my time zone, it's not 11:11 for you, but today is that day. So let's see what kind of energy is really present today, and it's going to be directed around your own self. So when I pull the card, or the card reveals itself to me, we'll get a little bit more information on it. So what is the message from our 11:11 portal today? I did a reading the other day on my son, and it was very revelationary. All right. Oh my gosh. The moon. Woo! So the moon is the 18th card of the major arcana. Hi, Lily. Hello. Hola. Tuber, hello. So we've got the moon card. The moon card is a very interesting one. So we've got a couple of crows, an eaten apple with a worm coming out of it. It's a very intuition-based card. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And as we pull, I also have this Botanical Dreams Oracle deck, and this is just has a lot of wisdom sayings, just kind of this pretty deck that I picked out on a coastal trip that was really fun. So we've got the moon. What other kind of energy do we have coming through this portal time of 11:11? Look at that. We've got another moon here. This one is called Stardust. You can see we've got the moon, and then this stardust is pulling off of her, and it looks very watery over here. So we've got a lot of moon energy, of that intuition energy going on here today. Woo! Some really intense stuff going on. Today represents, sorry, Lily, I don't speak Espanol. Yeah, everybody like and subscribe. We're going to be pulling another card from another deck. It's the Soul's Journey lesson cards. So we're just going to grab one. I bought these in Hawaii. So we'll just pull another card. What is this portal telling us today? Just kind of a fun thing to do on 11:11. And it's 5 minutes till 11:11 for me. I don't know where you guys are coming from, but if you're on the Pacific Coast time. Woo! Well, 2 of them popped out, so we'll just look at both of them. And one is blame. And it says, I accept responsibility for my well-being. Woo! What a powerful card. And then the other one is courage. I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. And then all my cards fell. Wow, what a powerful pull, you guys. Well, today is episode number 48. No, it's 48, right? Yeah, 47, 48. So wow, what a big day it is to have that episode. Like, that's 48 weeks of me streaming at some point in time. So let's go and look at our portal reading. But we've got the moon. Cards are continuing to fall. 56 Stardust. And we've got this beautiful, it's got a lot of moon imaging in it. And we've got the blame and courage. I love these mandalas that are associated with these. Hello, Barbara. Hi, Beehole. What are you guys up to today? This moon one is interesting. So, today we're talking about the number 11, and we've got these crows, and they're looking up, but they're like facing each other, which is really indicative of this 11:11 energy. And then we have the moon as this apple, and it has a worm coming out of it. And then we have this little creature down here that's kind of popping in, little crab-looking creature. So the moon itself is a portal. Okay. All my cards are falling all over the place. All right, whatever. So the moon is associated with mystery, intuition. We think of the tides. We think of emotions, of things that are half seen. We had a really powerful beaver moon, super moon was it Wednesday or Thursday? And when we have these supermoons, which is just a really bright moon, it almost looks like you can see everything outside. And it also is this liminal energy. And liminal is just kind of this very thin veil between what's real here in our temporal world and what's real spiritually in the spiritual world. And you kind of have this almost so thin you can taste it of the other side coming in. So that liminal energy that is associated with the moon, we have these boundaries that are being blurred because of that liminal space and that liminal in between, right? So it's almost hard to distinguish between what is real and what is being imagined. What is real and what is imagined. So this is really this psychic gate of illusion, of dreams, and subconscious patterns rising up, and you're having to face those. So right now it's 11:11. Okay, and then when we look at this stardust, okay, so the next one is this beautiful stardust. Look at that moon, look like it just lit up. You see that? Woo. All right. So the stardust adds this shimmering higher frequency layer because, we're looking at these stars here. This does look like a water. I am so floored by how like brilliant this moon is shining in this here. You can see that. She's laying on what looks to be a flower. And then she's got like this beautiful pink flower hair. So you've got this like kind of in between. Look at how cool that looks. Can I get that to really shimmer? Very shimmery, even though it's not a shimmery card. So this stardust, this high frequency layer, okay, is speaking to your divine. Like this divine is kind of just being shimmered onto us. And so it's a reminder that we're both human and celestial beings. We're made up of our human nature, and we're also this celestic matter. And I called my podcast Soulistic, Soul, Soulistic, in thinking about how we kind of have this in between, because you can kind of see we're in between worlds here. Like there's this dark matter we have this sprinkle kind of going on to it. So this is really kind of this upgrade time. So, today as we're thinking about 11:11, we're in 11:11. We have this really nice upgrade code being delivered to us. And it's kind of alchemizing the confusion that we have maybe in this world and just kind of shimmering it into our own being to where we can be in tune with the cosmic wisdom of our time. So this is a really pretty, beautiful card. We've got the moon energy here too. And now as we move on to the soul journey cards, we've got these two different cards here. We've got courage and blame. And the blame one says, I accept responsibility for my well-being. And, as we're thinking about this 11:11 energy, it really starts with a 1. And 1 is you. And so when we're starting to take responsibility for our own well-being, this is the energy that we can definitely bring in. So the blame mirrors that moon's duality, right? The moon has this beautiful duality that is associated with it. And it's showing this pattern of projection to reflection to projection again. And that's really what we're seeing here with these, we've got these two different dual ways of approaching things. We can approach it with confidence through that courage, or we can, really work through that blame in figuring out how are we going to accept responsibility. So the courage is really kind of trying to break this energy that is coming through. So we're in this portal right now, if this is something that's resonating with you, where your emotional body is purging residual shame, it's purging misplaced responsibility, and it is pulling these old stories to the surface, where the stories that are coming to the surface are ones that just need to be addressed. Okay, so you're basically, with this energy that we're going through right now, a lot of things are being unearthed within your own self. Imagine that. Okay, let's say you've got some deep, dark things that have been brooding beneath the surface, and you're like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. Right now, this 11:11 energy really coupled, like really brought on by this super moon. And watch my last stream to get that super moon energy, that beaver moon energy of, where it's the stuff is kind of dammed up. The beaver has dammed up a lot of stuff in order to like protect itself, but that means that there's no flow. Okay, so that really was what was being brought to the surface. And now here with this 1111 energy, we're again focusing on that moon. We're focusing on the stardust, the cosmic wisdom that can come from really engaging in that. And then also looking at this blame and courage side by side. All right. So that moon's pulling those old stories. These stories may not even be stories that you have that are even belong to you. These stories that are being brought up right now could be somebody else's stories, but you're wearing them. In fact, this moon energy really says a lot about that, okay? The moon energy is looking at what are other people's projections that they're trying to put on me. What are their projections? And what do I mean by that? Somebody could tell you that everybody goes, after high school, they go to college. After college, they get a house. After they get a house, they get the family. They have kids. They have the car. They have this certain lifestyle. And that's what everybody does. And you buy that story. You say, okay, you know best. Even though your whole being might be saying, no, I don't want to go to college. I want to go pursue this other thing. This other thing is more important to me. So the moon energy is looking at you right square in the face and saying, do you really want to live your life out like that? Is this really what you have in store for your own authored life? Now, I always talk about it, the authority that you have in your life is you writing that story, okay? Authority begins with author. Who's authoring your life? Is it your parents? Is it dictated by society? Is it dictated by your partner? Is it dictated by who is it dictated by? Because if it's dictated by somebody else, this moon energy is telling you to really look at that, because you are the only person in your driver's seat that's authoring your life. And if you're letting somebody else drive your car, your body, your soul body, this is what the moon energy is saying to you. All right. And then, so we're looking at the stories that we're holding. The stories may not even be ours. And the stardust energy is coming in and it's saying, transmute those stories. Okay. Look at how brilliantly this beautiful moon is shining. That moon energy is coming in and saying, the stardust energy is saying, transmute it. Look at that, 56. 56, what's 5 plus 6? 11. Okay. So that's our reading for today. I don't think I've ever done a reading on my live streams. Okay, so our portal reading is really looking at who did this to me. We're moving from that who did this to me to what am I ready to reclaim as mine. Okay, we're looking around our own inner life and saying, what am I ready to reclaim as mine? Like, I will take responsibility for that. Not who did this to me. That's very much a victim-y spot. We're moving from that victim, that blame energy that was pulled in the soul journey cards. We're moving from this blame to accepting responsibility for our well-being and really using whatever courage we have to go beyond that. So that blame will dissolve, the courage is going to emerge. And in that courage, there's going to be this inner strength, this personal power, this ability to face fear and have a really strong inner confidence and inner resilience to make it through it. That's what this energy is holding right now, and it's ready for you to metamorphize metamorphize through that, okay? So this courage doesn't come, it's not punishing anybody else. It's just really just accepting that responsibility, facing the fears, and moving through that energy with the confidence that you can make it onto the other side. So, very cool. So really, the definition for this portal with this reading is, and if you're hearing this, it's, take what you want from it, and leave the rest. But it really is about this psychic clearing. It's really about realigning your heart to where it needs to go, and really looking at, I mean, this whole year has been about sovereignty for me through this podcast, which is my own vocal portal that I share this information with you. It really is about restoring sovereignty in yourself and understanding what does that mean to restore sovereignty in my own self. And it really is like just stepping into this, I'm claiming authority or reclaiming the authority in my own life, that nobody holds agency over me. I'm pulling that agency back into myself, of where I've kind of cast it out into these spots. Okay. Now let's really talk about why 1111 is a huge theme. Now, first and foremost, I see 1111s everywhere. In fact, when I started my podcast, I didn't even realize, like, I had chose Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Whereas before I didn't really have any schedule, but I chose 11. And throughout the year, I've seen a lot of 1111s on the time clock. So that happens to me frequently, and I'm sure it happens to other people, but it's just when we see this, what does that mean in our life? What is that telling us? I always like to look at the symbology of everything, even things that I'm noticing around me. So 1111, 111. I'm trying to think of other numbers. Twos always pop up. Threes pop up, and I just see these sequences. And so when we think about 1111, when we look at 1111, it's really become this cultural and spiritual and psychological phenomenon that happens because of just different crossroads of things that have happened. So it could be mathematical, it could be mystical, there could be a meaning around it in your life. And it's really interesting. One of my friends has always been like, I don't, what did he say? He's like, I don't sign on to these numbers. But he kept on seeing these numbers, and he's like, I have no idea. And I would be talking to him, and he started noticing it, and then he really got into it. So this is one of those rare symbols that helps to bridge the logic and the intuition. And for me in this podcast, I'm always looking at how do I, it's not just mind over matter, right? Mind over matter means logic over, feeling. And that's been this paraded through life for so long. And I'm sure you've heard that term, mind over matter. I see 7-11s a lot. That has a numerological meaning as well. But we see these codes, and sometimes if you're not even paying attention to it, you're just like, oh, okay, whatever. It's like 11:25 right now. you just kind of like look at the clock. But if you're constantly looking at the clock and you're constantly seeing that 1111, this is a portal number. It's just kind of this reminder of, there's something coming in through for you. Okay. So the numerology and also this master number vibration. So 11 is considered a master number. One of my friends is an 11. My son is a 22 life number in numerology. But that 11, so 22 is like, two 11s, obviously. So we've got these master numbers. So first and foremost, number one, which is happens to be my life number, is a 1, symbolizes this individuality and this, it's creation, it's the beginning, it starts with 1. And when we start to double that, when you have 1 and 1, it becomes this mirrored potential of your own self. So like, you have your 1, and then when you add another 1 to that, it's this mirror potential of that 1. This is basically the divine spark recognizing itself, okay? And then when it's repeated twice, so you have that 1111, the 1111 is this amplified vibration into a portal frequency. So it's delivering something here, okay? That's the alignment of spirit. We were talking about that moon energy. The moon is this portal of the intuition. It just like, it does something to us, right? So it's amplified the vibration into this portal frequency. So when you see that 1111, it's basically like this portal opening. And we're getting that heaven and earth, that spirit and matter, and it's coming through to us and being delivered. So when you see that 1111 appear in your life, if you're looking at the clock and it's 1111, today happens to be 1111. It appears when you're in a certain resonance, okay, with your higher path. So something in that moment is like you're resonating with a higher self version of you. And this is seen as a gentle nudge, okay? It's a gentle nudge from the universe that your thoughts and your feelings and your actions are all syncing together in a divine timing, all right? So numerologically, that is that master number when it's entering into you. Now, the other part of this is a mirror code, okay? So 1111 is 2 1, so 2 lines, 1111, right? And then on the other side, it's the same thing. So it is a mirror. And the symmetry of this is this as within, so without, as above, so below style of energy, okay? And it really is like just kind of showing you the portal of that is like both sides of these things are so close to each other that heaven and earth is almost like melting together, okay? So as within, so without, as above, so below type of energy. And so it's a reflection of consciousness, all right? It's what you perceive the outer world as a mirror of your own inner alignment. And I talk about this quite often as well. The things that are inside of you are often reflected outside of you, okay? And that can come in the gift version of having, relationships with people. So it doesn't have to be intimate relationships, it could be anybody. But the people that you bring around you in your own field, it's this reflection of your own inner field. That's why if you change the way that you are on the inside, it often changes the relationships that you have with the environment outside of you. And this could be environment in what you see. It could be environment and who you interact with. The energy is, the energy exchanges is happening in this mirror space. So let's say, you go out, you start dating people and you're like, I don't know why I keep on dating these type of people. A lot of the times you're not looking at your own inner world, because that inner world is like saying, okay, well, you want this, but you've got to get through this lesson here. So you've got to figure out like what the lesson is in that person or that certain energy of person that you're continuing to bring in. Because that outer world that we have is this mirror of our own inner alignment, and everything is with our inner alignment. And that's why this 1111 is called a mirror portal. So when you see what it is, it's like the universe is looking back at you. You can almost look back at yourself. It's a reminder that you're not separate from what's unfolding outside of you. Okay. So next is time as a spiritual interface. Okay. Now, when we think about 1111, a lot of the times we're thinking about 1111 on the clock. And so you can see the spiritual interface with the number, the numerological 1111, because it does appear on clocks. And that intersects with our human linear time, okay, with this spiritual timelessness. Like there's a saying, time is not linear. So in our human scale, time is a little bit linear, okay? We're born, we have these life events, it's all on this timeline, just one timeline. But in the spiritual world, there's multiple timelines that are happening at multiple times at the same time. Who's to say, that just because we're in our one time, that there's not all these other timelines going on? If you get into 4D, fourth dimension, the fourth dimension is time, so you start to get really a little bit more into that. But we have these digital clocks that display this perfect time synchronicity in a moment. And so the numbers are in total balance in that one time. And for those who are sensitive to energy, it may feel like a crack in time. You're feeling that portal. For a moment, you can consciously imprint your intentions. And so this is why at 11:11, a lot of people make wishes. It's not necessarily about superstition. It's more about how am I resonating in this moment. And so they'll make a wish in that moment because they understand that that crack of time can change the outcomes of their future linear time, because they understand that there's this spiritual timelessness where, you can direct. That's where 5D comes in, where you can direct outcomes of things that happen by changing changing your inner alignment, and then, making these declarations. So moving on from time, we're going to be looking at the collective consciousness activation of 11:11. So the more people talk about it, the more collective energy gathers into that portal field. All right, it becomes this morphic field where it's almost like it carries its own charge of energy into an awakening. All right. So modern people might think of this as a wake-up code, quote unquote, or this activation sequence that helps people to remember their divine identity or their divine purpose. All right. So it's a very activating number. And so when you start seeing 1111 everywhere, it's not that it's just a coincidence. It really is this moment of entraining. And remember what entraining is. Entraining is connecting with other people's energy. So entrainment in some of the case studies, the scientific case studies, is having, what are they called? Newton's cradle, which is the five balls that are suspended on these wires, and you pull one and it hits back and forth. In that energy, you can have many of these Newton's cradles going off in disequilibrium, but over time, within a matter of minutes, typically, they start to entrain. So they're all on the same wavelength. They're all on the same frequency. And so instead of having multiple clicks at the same time, it's just a click, 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 click. And all of the disequilibrium eventually comes into equilibrium, like I said, within a matter of minutes. And that is what entrainment is. So when we have these 1111 wake up code awakening activations, a lot of us, even though we're, maybe miles and miles and miles apart, will become connected in that energy because we feel that vibration, we feel that energy. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the World War One ended. That's crazy. 18, 10, 9. And 1918 is 1. Like if you add it together. Is that right? 19 plus 1 is 10, and that is 1. Yep. So lots of one energy in that end of the World War. Okay, so when you, just kind of going back, when you start to see 1111 everywhere, it really is, it's not a coincidence. This is an entrainment moment where your consciousness is syncing with the wider field of awareness out there. You're more in tune and a little bit more sensitive to that energy, okay? And it doesn't surprise me that lately I've been seeing 1111s all the time, that I've had certain, like, I messaged somebody the other day and they're like, you must be psychic because I was just dealing with the thing that you're talking about at like a minute ago, like not even that long ago. It was just like within the last minute, we were just working this thing out. And then you messaged me about it. And it's crazy. And I told you guys about my son and I watching that terminal montage video of Mario Kart. And I was like, I want Shy Guy to win. And he wasn't in the lineup, in the original lineup at the beginning of the cartoon. And then by the end, yeah, I was like, I don't care if he's not there. I hope he still wins anyways. And he did. So now let's look at this portal metaphor of what 1111 is. So portal does not, like, I think a lot of the times when we think about portal, we think about these sci-fi wormhole situations. And it really, like, a portal does not have to be these sci-fi wormholes, okay? This is really just about a transitional moment, the transitional moment of that portal. As a kid, I really loved reading. Like, my favorite story was Alice in Wonderland. And Alice in Wonderland starts with her entering into this portal of this strange world of Wonderland. And then, even further in book 2, it's called Beyond the Looking Glass, where she enters into the mirror world. And it's even more wild and crazy. So, I've really been fascinated, even from a young age, about this transitional moment, this portal energy. And 1111 is oftentimes experienced as this deep personal change. It's about this decision making that is also, associated with change. And then there's a little bit of a spiritual initiation through this experience as well. So we're looking at stepping through a threshold into a higher frequency of self awareness, especially with that one energy, right? The one energy is symbolizing that self awareness, that self, the one, the creation. Like, what are we doing in our one energies? And I happen to be a one energy. It's very interesting. A very interesting life path, and you can go on and find out what your life path number is, and see how that resonates with you. But I just happen to have this one energy, and so I can speak into it a little bit. So the portal metaphor also goes into a moment where parallel timelines can shift or they can merge together. And then this is also an energetic equivalent of saying, are you ready to walk through the portal? Are you ready to hear that spiritual resonance that is sitting in this portal energy? Okay. And then beyond this, so, a lot of you guys may have been following me in my Digital Age podcast, which I'll start streaming more in the new year as I, really continue down that path of where I've been going. The 1111 is this archetype of a digital mirror as well. So our devices are constantly showing us these codes, okay? So anytime that you see 1111 flash, it doesn't even have to be the time. It could be, you're looking at something, 1111 pops in. So every time that flashes, it's still this ritual, but now it's a ritual between the human consciousness and then the digital realm, okay? So we've got our human consciousness, which is our physical body here, and then we've got the spiritual realm. So the physical realm that we're interacting with, the spiritual realm that we're reacting with, and have been for, since the beginning of time for us as humans. But then now we've got this new portal of the digital realm that's coming in. And so now we're kind of adding this new phase of something that we're interacting with as well into it. So we've got our human consciousness with the temporal environment that we have, the thin veil between this world and what we call the next world, the spiritual realm. And now we're kind of also including this digital rhythm into it and so it's kind of this interesting mirror. Hard to synchronize, but it's getting there. So if we think about the system, we can think of that as the digital rhythm. All right. And it's a reflection of this human awareness that is expanding through time. The soul and system kind of merging together a little bit. It's kind of the same with us in the spiritual metaverse. This system, this digital system metaverse as well is there as part of our human awareness campaign of what we're here to kind of move through. So when people say 1111 make wish, it's not just this cute thing that people say, it's this ancient instinct of something coming through where it, like, this ancient technology is resurfacing through us. 1111 make a wish, because we know instinctively within our own self that there is something thin here. The resonance is easier to be, the portal is a little bit more open, And now we can get that message through easily. All right. So that's that. So we talked about the numerology. We did a little bit of a reading, which is really powerful with that moon card and the Stardust card. Lots of 11s here. We've talked about the numerology of one, which is that leadership number. It's this divine spark number. It's the creation. It's the self and the self-awareness, and then the repetition of 111 as this mirror of as within, so without. So when you're looking in the mirror, you're looking kind of at yourself. We've talked about the portal energy of 1111 as this synchronistic alignment. Okay, it's not a superstition, it's just this alignment of energy. So let's move. I don't want to go on too long today. I need to go make cookies. And I have to go to the grocery store and grab some stuff because I'm making some French dip today. I saw this recipe for French dip sandwiches with au jus, and they put horseradish on it. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to eat that. So that's what I'm making today for dinner. But I got to get started on it soon because it's a slow cooked meal. I guess I could fast cook it in the Instant Pot, but I like slow cooked meals because I can stare at it while it's cooking. But let's talk a little bit more about the moment of this timeline intersection of what 1111 is. So this 1111 moment as the timeline intersection, you got to show us the final product. All right, well, when I'm done, I have a friend coming over today, but I'm sure she won't mind. But yeah, maybe I'll pop that on. I was also going to make some browned butter chocolate chip cookies, so I need to make sure I got all my stuff ready for that. But that sounded really good. I'm making those we're having a potluck at work next week, so I was going to make those and freeze them. Just in case I have to remake them over the weekend if I eat them all or something. I don't know, which is a possibility. And then, yeah, I have an appointment at 4. Okay. So when we're looking at our timeline intersections, this is where you can collapse the outdated version of yourself and call in the next one, okay? So really think about that. Like, that's what I'm really thinking about today, all right? Is I have these old versions of myself, and it really came through last week. I was literally in tears with some of the stuff because I'm like mourning these old versions of myself as a daughter, as a mother, as a friend, as a lover. Like all of these versions of me, I really had to start looking at them with that Taurus moon, full moon last week. Whether I wanted to or not, like I had to look at that. And I was mourning those old versions of myself because, I could say like, oh yeah, intellectually, blah, blah, blah. But I don't really want to be like that. I want to say, I've gone through the emotions of letting go of these older versions of myself. Okay. So that happened, that was on the 5th or 6th. So now here we are a few days later, and we're going through this 1111 portal energy. And if you guys were here in August, you guys know we did the August Lions Gate portal as well, that 8/8 energy. Now here we are really just kind of looking at our 1111 energy, that mirror into, as within, so without. We're really just taking a deeper look at that. So in this last week, I've had to look at all of these versions of myself and learn to like go through the feelings of them and then let go of them. Okay? Calling in this newer version of me. All right? This is where the one energy is like just kind of an interesting energy. Like I'm pulling in these new versions of myself. What am I where am I going? How am I interacting? How are these things changing? And a lot of my talks this year in my podcast have been about this very topic. All right? It's been about this very topic of this grief of not just things that happen in life, but the grief of the transitions in life that we don't even think about as grieving transitions. Okay, so a lot of the topics have been on that. Even my podcast. Even my podcast, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be taking a 30-day break where I am going to be redoing a lot of stuff to elevate the podcast even higher to where it's not just me on my phone talking on my phone. It's going to be a little bit more sophisticated. So I'm going to get a mic in. So I have a really nice sound. I am going to be, updating the platform to where I can show images on the screen, talk about it, and even have a little bit more professionalism in the way that it is. Maybe even have an intro, wait, and outro. Really learning how to do that. So I'll be doing a lot of testing during that time. And in the last week, that's really come through as a powerful moment for me is how do I do that? Maybe even like having regular readings, card readings where you can see the desk of the cards, and as they're getting pulled, we can look at that energy. So I'm already in the midst of calling in these new versions of myself as a podcast host, as a mother, as my own self of what am I doing in my life? How am I interacting in my life? So the timelines and the thresholds that are associated in this 1111 energy is also this identity shape shifting that happens. So we have these past selves that are always going to be there to support you. Those past selves don't ever leave. All right. We have these future selves. We haven't even truly really met. Okay. And then we have these eternal witnesses that are outside of your own self and, eternal witnesses that are just watching. All right? They could be your guardian angels. They could just be observers. Okay? But we have a lot of this identity shape shifting going on in this 1111 energy. And if you're in tune with energy, you've been feeling it a lot. It's very heavy energy. Like I said, I've done a lot of crying in the last week because there's this mourning, and it's just don't feel bad. It's just the tears are a way of releasing that energy safely. All right, now as we look at the thresholds and the timelines, we also, when we're looking at this identity and we're like making these decisions about where am I going? Am I going to hold on to these old past selves because it's safe and I fear letting go of it? And that is an easy escape to where I don't have to like navigate anything new, because anything new is not safe to me. So we have some choices that we're making here. And we can think of choice. When you think about choice, you can think of it as your own magic wand. All right? That's how powerful your words are. That's how powerful your decisions and actions are. And it's not surprising to me that the technology that is being developed with the brain control interfaces that won't even be, it won't even like penetrate your skin. It's just a wearable. It's a wearable that is going to be kind of influencing you. If you think about choice as a magic wand, I'm choosing this. You'll bring it in. So be very, very cautious about what am I choosing? Am I choosing to not grow? Am I choosing to stay in blame where I don't accept responsibility for my own well-being? Am I going to choose to stay in that victim mentality, or am I going to grow out of it? Okay? Blame isn't necessarily a bad thing. It really is just, how am I treating myself? Am I a victim? Okay? Whereas the courage, we're at this crossroads here. Are you going to choose blame? All right? Or are we going to choose courage of facing your fear and making a choice to do something that you don't know what the outcome is, but yeah, look at that. It's a nice, beautiful looking mandala versus, this kind of crazy eyeball looking one. I guess they both kind of look like eyeballs. So choice is your magic wand. And figure out how you're wielding your own choice, because choice is sovereignty. Okay? You can choose to give it away and have somebody else make your decisions for you. Completely doable. You can you're allowed to do that. All right? But do you want to? And as we're looking at timelines, do you like the current timeline that you're on? Okay, you're feeding that timeline. Do you like that timeline that you're on? Or do you want to introduce a new timeline into your frequency? This is a portal right now where you get to make that decision. Okay? Well, that's really all I had for today. That was a nice 57-minute thing. So yes, in closing, I think I have like maybe, what was my time frame here? Let me find a calendar, guys. One, two, three, four, five. One, two. Yeah, I think I have five more episodes for this year. And then I'm going to take a 4-week break, the 23rd through the 13th, and then start, I guess I can call it season 2 on the 20th of January. And I might come on every once in a while and just do a random stream. It kind of depends on what is going on. But I really wanted to take a break. I want to focus on getting a lot of these things set up, like having a really nice way to have guests, to be able to share images and talk about them. I just had this big, bright vision of all the stuff in this last week of, one, taking some time to like break from social media. One, because it feels a little overwhelming and I want to realign with where I'm going with that. And then two, to really pull back and then bring forward a new energy into the next year. So remember, next year I'm naming the year of connection. So I'll be traveling quite a bit. Ah, I want to meet you. How is it possible? Where do you live? And then next year, I am going to be traveling more because it is the year of connection. And so I don't know how that is going to completely unfold, but I am planning a July trip, I think, to either London or Paris for my son's 21st birthday. You're from India? I don't think I'm going to be in India anytime soon. But you're welcome to subscribe and follow my podcast because I do come on here quite often. Um, so, yeah, that's kind of some of the things that are coming up for next year. At some point, I am going to be going to the Northeast of America, to New York, and I want to go up to Connecticut and visit my friend. I wasn't able to go up there in October for his wedding, and so I wanted to go to have a visit with him anyways. So I'm planning something like that sometime in winter, spring. I don't know how that's going to affect the podcast, but just letting you guys know that if I'm traveling, and sometimes that travel energy does take a lot. It is a little bit. Yeah. Okay. And then February 17th, we got our Lunar New Year finally. The snake energy is going to be done. Guys, it's been whatever. That's all I have to say about that. The snake year has been very transformative for me. It's been a really crazy year. Um, so I wanted to kind of just bring that information into you guys. I hope that the reading was really helpful for you. I'm kind of blown away. I'm just gonna like kind of leave the podcast and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was the poll. I'm gonna take a picture of these and post it because that is some strong energy to be pulling for our portal. I can't believe it. It's it's crazy. It's wild crazy. Yeah, with that stardust energy, stardust like awakening. Wow. Well, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Amelie, and I am the host and founder of the Celestic Intelligence podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed and that this has helped to illuminate some things that are going on in this energy today. So, one is to be very graceful with yourself because it can be a daunting task to go through self and the identities and all of that delicious energy. Sometimes it takes a little while to transmute it, but now's the time to do that. We're entering into our darker months. We're getting closer to the Yule time. which is, December 21st ish timeline is when Yule is. And so that's when it's the darkest, the longest darkness, the shortest days as far as light's concerned. And so it can be a very hard time to go through because there's a lot of things that have been transmuting and maybe even sticking to us. So, really look at what stories are yours, what stories are not yours, and let those old stories that you believe go. And it could be you have to go to college in order to have, your life. You need to have your life figured out by age 30, otherwise, your life's over. Like all of those things are just stories. So let's look at those stories that you're believing and see if we can start, getting rid of some of these ones that don't serve you and bring in the ones that do. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the podcast today. I will post the next few up over the next few weeks. And just reminding you guys that I am going to be taking a little bit of a break just to have a little bit of time with my family and the little family that I have left, and really look at, okay, where am I going in the future? And then so next year, once I rejoin the podcast, that it's going to be a nice, beautiful season 2 where it's a little bit more elevated and the space is going to be a little bit more permanent. And so I hope that resonates well for you guys. All right. Well, enjoy your day. I love you. And I will see you guys very soon. Later.